Hey everybody out there, Mike Henderson here with the Fruition Partners marketing team. I'm happy to have you with us today for our webinar entitled How 2016 Can Make 2017 Your Best Year on the ServiceNow Platform. I'll mention up front that today's session is being recorded, so if you need to jump off early, we'll have a recording of it available on our website, fruitionpartners.com, probably sometime early next week. Today's webinar is only 30 minutes, so we're going to try to cruise through it as quickly as we can and get you back to your end of year deliverables. One thing I just want to point out again is that, you might have noticed in the email invitation that we have a couple incentives that we'll be offering up towards the end of today's webinar. So stick around for that. You'll find out a little more detail about what those incentives are and how you can take advantage of them. Today's presenter, Dan Dubay, he has been with Fruition for almost a decade now and was actually one of the founders of our application management service line and practice. So we definitely have the right guy on hand today to explain a little more about what AMS is and how you can benefit from it. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and pass things off to Dan. Thanks, Dan.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Hey, everybody. Dan Dubay with Fruition Partners. Nice to have you all again. This will be a reoccurring webinar that we'll be doing on a monthly basis. So if you find this interesting and you want to invite others to a future webinar, they'll be posted up on our website going forward on a monthly basis. So feel free to invite others on your team. So application management services, or AMS, what is that? So that is the helping ServiceNow customers on their ServiceNow journey from a run state and support state perspective. So before we kind of talk through like how Fruition, how we help customers along support journey, I wanted to kind of talk through a couple different aspects. First and foremost is, what are the common challenges that you guys are probably feeling that we see in the ServiceNow ecosystem? You know, we have over 300 customers in our AMS portfolio. We meet with multiple ServiceNow customers that are needing our assistance on a daily basis, and we kind of summarize this into this one slide here of the common challenges we see that ServiceNow customers are experiencing trying to support and maintain the platform themselves. And so I summarized it, and it kind of comes from three main areas or three main buckets. First being ServiceNow, the actual platform. So they're actually pushing out, 2 new releases per year, a lot of cool new functionality that they're wanting you guys to take advantage of. They're wanting you guys to build out a multi-year roadmap and build, land, and expand inside and outside of IT. A lot of cool things going on, right? So that's one area, right? It's more the higher end strategic things that they're wanting you to, that ServiceNow, the actual platform, wanting you to build out in the ServiceNow platform and be able to take advantage of a lot of the cool new things that they keep pushing out on a per release basis. So what does that mean? I mean, that means obviously you need to have the right skill sets and resources in-house to be able to develop and configure to those things, but also to stay up to date on upgrades and the releases, right? So not falling behind 1 or 2 or 3 releases behind where you may fall out of supportability, but also you're not able to take advantage of the things that they keep pushing out, right? So that's one aspect. Second being your developers or your system administrators, right? So how do we manage all that stuff that's coming in from your user base, from ServiceNow, from your executive teams, right? It could be large and strategic in nature, could be smaller, onesie twosie type of enhancement, could be a maintenance or an incident type issue that needs looked at and resolved. How do we manage all that demand that's coming in from your users, getting it properly assigned out, properly prioritize what we want to do, right? So not just saying, everything that comes in, that request that comes in as enhancements, we're just going to immediately do, but we properly prioritize that stuff, figure out what we're going to do, what we're not going to do, and properly design scope, get it, developed and tested and pushed out to production so users can start taking advantage. Staff turnover, right? So we see this a lot where, having that ServiceNow skill set on your resume is a very hot commodity. So we're having those certifications, right? That's very hot in the ServiceNow ecosystem. So we're seeing a lot of turnover of system administrators, where they're getting recruited on LinkedIn and all that good stuff. From the full transparency perspective, here at Fruition, that happens to us as well, right? So we need to make sure we keep our technical consultants, our developers, intrigued, interested, keep putting them on interesting projects and strategic things we're wanting to do with ServiceNow and the platform, et cetera. Skills gaps. So, we see this a lot where, you may think, well, we're seeing a lot more demand, so we need to add another headcount of a system administrator. Okay, that's okay. But thinking more as we land and expand and start growing the platform out, we need to make sure we have proper skill sets in place. And so, examples here around architecture, and so best practices, design, operational oversight, right? So how do we manage all the intake that's coming from all the different types of work that's coming in, big and small? How do we manage releases and sprints and upgrades and all that good stuff? And then lastly, your user base. So, your users are, once they start realizing the power of the platform and what it can do, you start seeing that backlog grow and grow and grow, right? Your users are wanting stuff built. They're wanting set service catalog items. They're wanting to get off of spreadsheets and Lotus Notes databases, et cetera. And so that, obviously that puts a lot of pressure on your team to be able to properly support and maintain and enhance and stay up to date on upgrades and build those custom apps and all that sort of good stuff. When you have, your users are wanting, things built, and that demand just keeps coming and coming from them. So building on that, as you build out the platform, and this graph kind of represents here, as you go out into the right, your typical phase one go live of ServiceNow typically is, your incident, problem, change, and request, things like that. As you go out into the right, you're going to start seeing more value, right? So more return on investment that the ServiceNow platform is giving you, right? Because you're consolidating, you're innovating, you're automating a lot of things, you're using workflow and orchestration and all that good stuff. So you're seeing more, your business is starting to see more return on investment on this, on the ServiceNow platform. But also down there on the bottom horizontally is your support needs, right? Your support needs go up. And that's what I was saying earlier on the previous slide, isn't just adding an additional system administrator to meet the needs of that's coming in, but also these are things here in the blue bubbles that need to take into account, right? Architecture, design, having the right skill sets in place, business analyst, release management, architecture, which we've talked about, testing, et cetera, upgrade testing. So making sure we are have a cadence and best practice around upgrades, right? So we can stay up to date, making sure our test case make sure we actually have test cases written, making sure they're staying up to date, so that they can be properly executed come upgrade time. User experience. So this is important, right? So as to drive user adoption, it's important to continually build upon and improve the user experience on the platform. And a lot of this is handled via the self-service portal, right? Where you're wanting to drive more innovation to self-service, wanting to get more users to go to the portal versus picking up the phone and calling the service desk. Your users are demanding that Amazon-like experience like they have at home, right? Where they can just go on an app on their phone and 2 clicks and something's going to be delivered 2 days later. So they're wanting that same type of experience with what the tools they use at work. So obviously the user experience with ServiceNow is key to that. And then lastly, intake prioritization and release schedules. So I think we talked about that briefly on the previous slide around, how do we manage all the intake that's coming in, all the demand that's coming in from your user base, big, small, strategic. How do we properly prioritize, get those enhancements and things into your process owner's hands to properly look at and prioritize the things that they're wanting to do. Having proper release schedules set up, whether it's biweekly or monthly, quarterly, et cetera, major, minor, those types of things, having those release schedules and then sticking to them versus, willy-nilly, throwing stuff out into production, et cetera. So anyways, just wanted you to kind of, from a level set perspective, just make sure everybody's aware of, as you grow the platform out, there's a lot of things to take into account besides just, adding an FTE with a system administrator. So how does Fruition solve these challenges? So we have three main service lines inside of AMS, and those are encompassed by management as a service, or MAS, virtual admin, VA, or virtual admin plus VA plus. So let's talk about MAS first. So MAS is the full turnkey support model where we are supporting and maintaining your instances for you. So in essence, we're doing all the support and maintenance. So any issues that come in against the ServiceNow platform, any maintenance type requests that come in, right, user administration or updating CI records or bulk upload of files, or, creating and scheduling reports, those types of things that are coming in from your users that aren't development related or configuration, and they're not anything that's broken. It's just things that need done from a day-to-day maintenance perspective. Enhancements. So we're doing all the enhancement development. So this isn't big go lives of new functionality, new applications in ServiceNow, but it's enhancing things that you're already live with, is in scope. Upgrades. So we're doing all the upgrades for you, the seamless upgrade path, where we're doing all the test case creation, keeping them up to date, executing those test cases, logging and fixing defects, coordination of clones, all that good stuff that goes around an upgrade is covered for you. And this is a kind of a pain point for customers, right, where it's like trying to find time to test on top of your day job, and trying to get your process owners and key users of the platform to be able to test their application, things like that, can oftentimes delay you trying to get meet your upgrade timelines. Architecture. So this is key, right? We're having a proper architecture in place to ensure that from an ongoing perspective that any enhancement work is being designed and developed utilizing best practices, can parachute in on if there's some priority one issue on the ServiceNow platform, can kind of parachute in and make sure things are gets over the finish line and gets resolved out. Can kind of meet with you and your business to understand strategically what you're wanting to do with the platform and help you technically where you want to take it. And then operational oversight, right? So the managing of the releases, the intake and prioritization of the work, the scheduling of cloning and upgrades and all that good stuff. All the operational components is covered in MAS. And then lastly, it's kind of like the wrapper around the entire service, is there service levels in place. So the SLAs ensure that, we're getting work done, we're getting work responded to and resolved out, fulfilled. Enhancements are getting deployed into production in the sprints we said they were going to get deployed in. So we're, ensuring, overall operational excellence with SLAs in place. So what does that mean? So this service, when all those things are kind of covered for you, that allows you guys to be able to focus, yourselves and your resources on more strategic things, right? So those custom apps you haven't been able to get to, and we're wanting to do asset management and PPM next year, things like that, where you just don't have time because you're so bogged down in all the day-to-day things. This service allows you to kind of hand the keys over to us and let us focus on these aspects around the day-to-day stuff, and let you guys focus on the strategic things you're wanting to do with the platform. It is a flexible model, so it's not an all or nothing type of thing where it's, we must do all these bullet points or the service isn't right for you. No, I mean, we have customers in this service that, keep a certain pieces in-house and let us handle the others. And then the last piece is a fee-for-service model. So you're not buying hours, you're not buying FCEs or contractors or anything like that. It's a truly one fixed monthly fee, and all the above is covered for you. Okay, so that's MAS. Virtual admin. So virtual admin is a subscription-based model, right? So subscription of hours per month, starting as low as 10 hours per month. that allows you to lean on our team, our AMS team, for ServiceNow expertise and ServiceNow development configuration capacity, right? So if you have that large backlog of stuff that you just need help with, you have a junior level team and you just need, as they're coming up to speed, you just need them to be able to lean on, some more senior level ServiceNow experts. Virtual admin is the right fit for you, right? So through the subscription of hours, you can utilize for a bunch of different things. But by far and wide, most customers use their hours for development, right? So configuration, where you're wanting us to build stuff for you. And it's typically minor stuff that's 10 hours or less. So it's not like deploying a new application. It's building new catalog items, workflows, tweaks to things you're live with, helping you with a script, things like that, that are typically 10 hours and less is considered development. Technical guidance, right? So playing that lead admin role for your team as they're coming up to speed so that you guys can lean on us and we can kind of lead and guide you. And, we'll do remote working sessions and show you how to do stuff. And, you guys want to do it yourself, but you just want to help get me started. Show me what to do, or what have you done? What have you seen for other, that's best practice or that's worked for other customers? That's where virtual admin, technical guidance can come into play. We have over 300 customers in the service, right? So that are leaning on us for in one way or another through their subscription of hours. And, like I said, you guys are driving how you want to use the hours, right? So the mass, where it's more of we're proactively kind of managing and supporting your platform for you. Virtual admin is you guys kind of dictate how you want to use the hours, and you let us know, like, hey, we want you to work on this, or can you meet with us to show us how to do that kind of thing. So there's low as 10 hours per month. So it's with minimum commitment levels. So the minimum commitment is 3 months, and then you can, you cancel or reduce to a lower subscription level after the first 3 months of the contract. So definitely flexible from a terms and hours perspective. And then Virtual Admin Plus, I won't spend a ton of time on that, but that is just like Virtual Admin, except the Plus component allows you to add on a subscription of hours for other roles at Fruition, right? So a common example would be for requirements gathering and documentation. So if you have this large backlog that you're wanting to utilize Virtual Admin to help drive down that backlog, well, you may have this large backlog, but you don't have necessarily internal capacity to go gather the requirements and solution out the best approach and things like that. You just have a backlog of ideas, one sentence type stuff. So customers are find it attractive, or they'll add on a subscription of hours for a business analyst to help facilitate those meetings and those conversations and those requirements gathering sessions. And then, architect, right? So very tip of the spear type of resource at Fruition for helping you with, more strategic technical things you're wanting to do with the platform, that sort of stuff. And then operational assistance. So if you're needing operational help around, gosh, we just, can't get ourselves together operationally around the work that's coming in and properly intaking it and helping it get prioritized and assigned out and, managing releases and all that sort of stuff. You can add on a subscription of hours for a service delivery manager to help facilitate that. So those are our services. If you have any questions on that, feel free to type it into the questions box, and we can get those answered here in a minute. So from a global delivery experience and locations, here's how we're set up, right? We have over 300 customers in our services. Obviously you can see how many administrators we have certified. Inside of AMS, and 350 is Fruition globally. Inside of Fruition AMS, we have about 60 resources that are exclusively devoted to supporting and maintaining customers' environments, right? So that's just unparalleled in the ServiceNow ecosystem. If you look at other competitors out there that say they do some sort of virtual admin, they're typically not a dedicated team at all. It's 10 guys in a van kind of thing. Global presence, you can kind of see where we're at from a global delivery perspective. We're pretty much everywhere around the globe. And the key thing to take away from that, from that picture is that, whether you're a customer in Illinois or you're a customer in Australia, your virtual admin or your mass experience is the same. And so that really speaks volumes and something we're very proud of from a maturity perspective, that our customers are getting the same type of look and feel and experience, user experience around the service we're delivering from a global perspective, no matter where you're located. And then last but not least, over on the right-hand side is, with this service, you're not just getting, a person or, you're getting primary resources that are assigned to you, and you get to know them and they get to know you inside of the services, but you get access to the Fruition engine as a whole. And over here on the right is just an example, right? We have all these niche areas of Fruition that deliver inside of these components. And this is just an example, right? So let's use security operations. So we have a line of business at Fruition that does nothing but focus on security operations for service management on the ServiceNow platform. So if you have you're wanting to pull somebody in and have a conversation about it, or you have a unique requirement around an integration or asset management, that we can pull in a specialist that can kind of parachute in and have a meet with you and talk about what you're wanting to do and help design the best approach, and can kind of parachute in and then jump back out. So that's key, right? Versus if you're thinking about hiring a contractor off the street, whatever's in their head is what you get, right? So if you're wanting them to work on something with asset or PPM or PPS now, and they don't know it, they're going to fumble around on it. They're going to be looking stuff up on the wiki all day and playing around with the script or whatever. And with us, we can, more times than not, turn things around a lot quicker. We have our code libraries and knowledge-based sharing and all that good stuff. I think this is the second to last slide. So, having over 300 customers, been doing this for, about 7 years. It's, how are we doing? Like, how are we performing to these customers, especially our long-term customers? We hear good things, like we love the service, the customers are renewing year over year, right? But how are we doing in helping them be successful on the platform? And so here's kind of a compilation of some numbers that we're seeing based on some averages that we've kind of met with some of our long-term customers on. So 74% decrease, right? We're helping customers automate in the ServiceNow admin task, right? So, a user admin task or updating a CI record, things like that can be automated, right? Using the workflow, using the power of the platform, and thus, getting some of those mundane tasks out of the way. Decrease in backlog requests, because customers are leaning on us and they're making use of their hours, or we have SLAs in place, we're driving down customer backlogs, and customers are innovating. Thus, the flip side of that is customers are innovating, and they're pushing more work and more cool things into production and freeing themselves up to do that upgrade and all that good stuff, which in turn, 53%, user adoption and staying current on releases, and then the faster turnaround of enhancements. All those things kind of coincide and kind of feed off each other when you're utilizing our AMS services. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I mean, from a how we help customers from a day-to-day perspective and support and maintain and enhance the platform. From a year-end perspective, it is year-end for us. So we do have some pretty cool incentives going right now for virtual admin, which includes some bonus hours and reduced rates. Right, so every month you're going to get some additional bonus hours for free, and that coincides with some reduction in some rates as well. So I don't doing this for 7 years now, there's never been a better time to get into our virtual admin or mass service from a pricing perspective. I know there's only a couple of weeks left in the year, but certainly we'll be reaching out to you guys to discuss this if you're interested in hearing more. So from a next steps perspective, we'll be reaching out to you and see if you have any more unique questions, or want to have a more in-depth conversation, or we want to pull on a bigger audience from your team to understand in more detail around these offerings. and hopefully we can work together in the future. So with that, Mike, I'll see if there's any questions.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dan, for running through those slides for us. Looks like we actually have a few minutes left, so now's a good time to open up to Q&A. So if you have any questions out there, go ahead and submit them through the GoToWebinar question box. We actually did have a question come in a couple slides ago, Dan, and I'll go ahead and present it to you in the audience. You mentioned with the mass offering that it doesn't need to be a full transfer of ownership of the platform. Can you share any examples of where and how a hybrid model has worked?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a common one would be keeping in-house system administrator for doing like a first round of incidents that are coming in against the platform, right? So if an incident comes in, there's an issue, we have customers that want to be the first round of looking at it and seeing if they can resolve it before they kind of bring us in to look at it. Another popular one is a business analyst, right? So I was talking about when those enhancements come in and we're doing the requirements gathering, having an in-house kind of business analyst that's a badged employee. We've seen some success with that where they're sitting there on site. They are, help selling the value of the platform to their business inside and outside of IT. We've seen some really good successes with that, having that type of role stay in-house. And a lot of times that may be a repurposed system administrator, where a system administrator may get repurposed into that role, right? Where they're going to go play that role and they're going to go be the champion and go, drive innovation and more enhancements and more strategic things inside of their business, inside and outside of IT as well.
Great. Thanks, Dan. And we actually had one more question come in, and I think you actually already touched on this on an earlier slide, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again. The question is, what's the minimum term for virtual admin? Is my commitment long-term or flexible? Yeah,
another good question. We did touch on it, but it is a 3-month commitment. So whatever subscription level you sign up for, let's say you sign up for 40 hours a month, your minimum commitment is 3 months. So anytime after those first 3 months are completed, you can cancel altogether if you feel like your team is better up to speed now, or your backlog is in a better spot, or you can reduce down to a lower subscription level. So let's say 3, 4, 6 months from now, your team is in a better spot. They're more up to speed on the ServiceNow platform. You're not leaning on us as much. You can subscribe. You can reduce your subscription level from say 40 hours a month down to 10 or 20 hours a month if you want to, without a penalty or anything like that.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, we're sitting right at 11:30 Central right now. I know there were a couple more questions that actually came in, but given the time, we'll need to follow up with you individually after the webinar. So real quick, closing remarks. First of all, thanks for attending today's webinar. Hopefully, you found it informative. Again, the recording will be available sometime early next week. You can check the webinar section on our website for that. And as Dan mentioned, and we can see up on the screen, we'll reach out to you after the webinar. But if you don't want to wait and you have some questions or want a private demo, reach out to us proactively. We'd be happy to hear from you. You can either send an email to info@fruitionpartners.com, or you can just go onto our website and find the information you need on the contact us page to reach out to us. So thanks again for attending. Thanks, Dan, for presenting today. And if we don't hear from you guys or see you before end of year, happy holidays, and we'll see you in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you.